Hello guys and welcome to episode number 24 of What the Tech. My name is Adam Lobo.
What's up everybody, I'm Vernon.
And we are back for the second week in a row. Thankfully, we don't have any situations where we had to travel. So I like to stay put sometimes. A lot of people envy the fact that we travel, which is great. I mean, we are very thankful, but sometimes we just want to stay put. And although our Malaysian weather is not the best when it comes to staying put right now, but we'll keep that for probably another type of podcast where we talk about the weather. So for this episode, we are titling it on why I hate Honor devices or why we don't review Honor devices in this particular channel.
I anticipate a very angry episode.
I'll try my best to stay calm, yeah? And then there is... so the POCO F7 series, the smartphones have so many different types of POCO F7. Gone are the days where it's just one phone, so there's three phones in total right now. So we are going to be talking about that also. We're going to get the first impressions from you and also to hopefully tell you who is for which phone, right? So like is the Pro. So we're going to just kind of go through the specs and also go through the pricing here in Malaysia, especially for you all to actually know that as well. We also will be talking about the Galaxy Z Flip 7 further because the in-depth review is coming up next week. And now you can actually have like a further uncensored or I would say a raw talk about the Flip 7, what I like about it. And for someone who have been using it and for someone who's not using it, we can talk about that as well. We also going to be talking about the Honor Magic V5 versus the Z Fold 7's controversy. And that's where I'll start off with my beef with Honor and why we don't do it. And then we'll talk about the controversy. We can do either that. Sure. And then Google Pixel has a new leak. The reason why we say leak is because their leaks have been consistent since Google Pixel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to be talking about that.
Every year.
And for this week's segment for Who Asked For This is the fact that Cyberpunk 2077 can play on a Mac. So the question is who asked for this? We shall talk about that. And the community segment is that if you had to pick on which smartphone camera, which one would you choose? So this one is like out of all of you have what you have, and we do have the results over here. We're going to be talking about that. In terms of what's exciting next week, the Vivo X5 Fold or the X Fold 5 will be launched next week in Malaysia. So good stuff over there. We did a reel in case you guys haven't checked it out. So make sure you check it out as well. The video releases, we'll be talking about that later on as well. So yes, let's first start off with the POCO F7's first impressions from you. I have all three of the phones here.
Wow.
So
what a surprise.
I know. So I want you to look at the phones and then tell us just by looks alone, which is the Ultra, which is the Pro, and which is the regular or the baseline model. And you can also tell us which you feel should be the Ultra, the Pro, and also the regular.
Wow.
So we get two kind of insights from you, yeah?
Okay.
So
sounds good.
here's one of it. So I think you better put down your iPad.
Little iPad Pro.
Okay. Here you go. Feel like I'm playing cards right now, just putting cards here. Okay, so that is one of the phones. Maybe you can show to the camera.
Where am I? Okay.
And you can show to that camera, that camera. Okay, there you go.
This is in silver gray.
Okay, so that is one of the phones.
With the camera bump.
Okay, next phone.
Looks good. Typical candy bar slab phone. Nice metallic hinge. Yeah, a little bit iPhone-ish in terms of the frame. This feels a bit like an Ultra to me.
Okay. How about the other phone which you hold?
Because also, I always associate POCO with this bright yellow thing. I don't know why. But since day one, kind of they had this branding. I would say this is the Ultra Y because number one, yellow. Number two, the frame is different.
Okay.
Right? It's powdered.
Okay.
The powdered frame. It's slimmer. But this is very similar to... these two are quite similar with the silver frame.
Show everyone about this particular phone after this.
Okay, hang on. So I'm just going to show you these two first. In terms of design, they are quite similar. The back panel. Okay. Finish is a little bit different. This is also matte. Now, this is completely different from the other two. So you might kind of think that this is an Ultra because it's so different. But I think the clue would be, look at the camera module and there's only 2 cameras, but these have 3. So unlikely that this is an Ultra, okay, from first impressions. Still very well built. It says limited edition, I don't know why, maybe because of the design here of the panel. Clearly Snapdragon logo here on the front. So let's hope that's a Gen 4 or Elite. Nice screen. So this is a bigger device considerably compared to the other two.
Yep.
So is that an Ultra? I don't know. So interesting.
So
I think it's very interesting in terms of design because 2 are the same, similar,
yeah.
and the other one's not.
So if you had to guess, I think you already guessed the Ultra, correct?
Yeah.
How about the other 2 phones? Which do you think is the Pro and which is the baseline model?
Based on first impressions, I think this is an Ultra.
The yellow.
Yes.
Okay. Show it to the camera. So this is
Yellow.
the Ultra.
I already mentioned why, because it's the thinnest. Number 2 is in yellow. Number 3, the frame is different.
Okay.
Okay.
The
I'm
Pro?
not looking at specs or whatever because I have no idea. And this is the Pro. Okay. I'm saying this is the base POCO because it only has 2 cameras.
Okay.
Based on that.
Very good
Although
guess.
it's bigger.
Very good
It's
guess.
bigger.
You're absolutely correct. So
I'm correct.
Wow. Okay. So here's the thing.
Certified tech reviewer.
That would be actually you've been a tech reviewer
Okay.
before we were, so
Retired,
you are
retired.
the otai over here.
Retired.
Now you guessed it correct. But if you are someone who is outside of POCO or someone who is not very familiar with the industry, if you were to guess which would be, or if you were to show, okay, I want to position it like that or like this from an aesthetic point of view, which would you make
it's
it
an Ultra?
look like an Ultra?
I think this is different enough.
Okay. That one. So the
This
baseline
could
model.
look like an Ultra. Could.
Okay. Okay.
If you hide, maybe they hide the fact that it's the camera module, but there's 2 cameras, quite obvious. But this could be one. Yeah, this could be an Ultra. Or this one. I think
Okay.
this is quite hard to differentiate without you really looking at the specs or whatever.
Okay.
This is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would say that the baseline model looks more like an Ultra.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So the interesting part is that this POCO
Also,
F7.
it's bigger because you expect an Ultra to be bigger than the rest
Yeah.
for some reason. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
always
It
been the
makes a
case.
sense.
It is also heaviest among all. I have the specs in front of me. It is 215 grams compared to the 7 Pro, which is 206, and the Ultra is 212. So this is the heaviest of them all.
grams. Okay.
It is also the biggest screen. I don't know why POCO decided to do
Yeah,
that.
it's a bit weird, right?
Yeah, your baseline model is the highest or the biggest screen, which is 6.83 inches. Huge. That's what she said. And then there is the POCO F7 Pro, which
And
is
these are similar.
6.67, and the Ultra is 6.67.
It looks similar, so yeah.
In terms of the brightness, all of them are the same. 3,200 nits of peak brightness.
Samsung panel, I assume.
Here's the interesting part. We still do not know what does POCO Shield Glass mean.
Exactly.
Because
what
the
is that?
Ultra is using the POCO Shield Glass, and the other 2 is using Corning Gorilla Glass 7i, which is something that nothing used to bring down their cost. But for POCO, it's fine because we're going to be talking about the price right after this, which is totally justifiable.
So is their proprietary glass better than the Gorilla Glass?
We do not know. There's no data at all. I mean, even for me and the guy Aryan, who helps us to script some of our videos from India, he also did lots of, because POCO is huge in India, and he did some research, and even he couldn't find a lot of data on that. So the chipset, so the POCO F7 is using the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4, similar chipset to the Nothing Phone, the Nothing Phone 3. The F7 Pro is using Snapdragon 8 Gen 3.
Interesting.
And of course, the F7 Ultra is using the Elite. So
Okay, very distinct kind
it
of
is. So I
CPU range.
you would question why POCO does something like this, but at the same time, it's very interesting that what they're doing. In terms of the camera, the main sensor for the F7, which is this, is a 50 megapixel camera. All of them are using a same 50 megapixel camera. Okay. We do not know whether it's the exact same sensor. I know that the F7 Pro and the F7 Ultra is using the same sensor. We do not know about this. Haven't tested out the cameras and even this device yet. Stay tuned for an in-depth review of that, because in Malaysia it's hazy. Whatever pictures you take is going to be looking ugly. Okay. The secondary camera,
take it indoors.
The F7 and the F7 Pro is using an 8 megapixel ultra wide, which is fine because Samsung's doing very well with 12 megapixels anyway. The F7 Ultra is using a 32 megapixel camera, and there is no telephoto lens, which brings us to our topic later on about telephoto lenses and stuff. The battery. The F7, I think the reason why is probably significantly heavier is because this has 6,500 milliamps of battery.
Is that silicon carbon?
We do not know. I think so. But if it's silicon carbon, I still trying to understand why is it so heavy. But I think at this point of this day and age, I think they would have used silicon carbon battery. So that is for the F7. The F7 Pro is 6,000 milliamps of battery.
Which is okay.
But your F7 Ultra that you're holding right now is 5,300 milliamps of battery.
So why do you think that this has a bigger battery than this one?
That's a very good question. I think it has a bigger battery is because of the fact that they wanted to just simply reduce other areas in order to put it more battery. Because the funny thing is that I got my hands on this device very late, because the purpose of POCO releasing this particular phone, although we do reviews generally about every single part of the phone, but the purpose that POCO has released this phone is because they want to cater towards gamers. So probably that's the reason why they put a biggest battery on this. Now, for us, as usual, whenever we review a phone, we go through every single point. But that is the differentiating factor. But also worth mentioning is the fact that the POCO F7 starting price 1,500 ringgit.
So good.
1,500 ringgit for 6,500 milliamps of battery. Yeah. The POCO F7 Pro is 1,789 ringgit.
So 200 bucks.
The calculation yourself. And the POCO F7 Ultra has reduced the price, so it's 2,449.
2,449.
Yeah.
What was that before?
I think it was 2,999 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But I could be mistaken because I
honestly,
can never remember number.
Held this in the hand, I think this feels really good.
Yeah.
For the Ultra.
Okay.
It's a bit heavy.
When we reviewed the phone, a lot of people weren't happy with us, saying that why is this guy complaining about a phone that is very affordable? Yeah. That's my job.
Because that is your job.
And also at the same time, I think in general, we've been reviewing and doing a lot of POCO videos. It's important for us to be a little critical when it comes to POCO releases, because we already expect the best of the best. So we need to kind of pick or be a little picky and choosy in terms of what they are doing and that. So if you had a choice when it comes to having the best balance of price and the overall performance factor and based on the specs, which one would you go for?
There will always be something in the middle.
Okay.
I think it's either a Pro or usually not the Ultra.
Wow. So even for this case, the POCO, you would go with the...
I don't know, by feel-wise, I do like the Ultra. By feel-wise.
Okay.
But I think if you look at the overall specs, that would probably be the best middle ground. Because from Pro to Ultra is quite a substantial price jump. And yet, I think performance is not going to be super substantial.
Performance in terms of chipset?
Chipset, battery life, not that big a difference. I think the Pro probably be... Of course, this is a good value for money, I have to say. Yeah.
So if you had a choice to choose in terms of, your best device in terms of price factor and also the overall performance, you would go with a Pro?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I would. If money was no object and I didn't have like a budget, this would be it.
Of course, the Ultra. I mean, that would be a typical question. For me, among all of these devices, I haven't even reviewed it, but I like the regular.
Okay.
And yes, it's a limited edition.
No harm in that,
because I really like the finish of the phone. I just realized that it's such a fingerprint magnet.
It is.
Oh no. But I like the fact that the phone has a very big screen. I like the fact that it has a quite nice weight to it. Now, usually I would always say that the phone within 200 grams is just perfect, but I like how it feels very solid. It doesn't feel like a baseline phone. And most importantly, it's not a phone which is expensive. 1,500 ringgit for a brand new phone. Currently on Shopee, unfortunately, it's sold out. So
It is already.
because it is a limited edition, and by the time we got it, it's already sold out.
What does the non-limited edition look like?
There is your white and black.
So there isn't like a...
No, it's just pure white and black.
no panel.
Yeah, that's a good question but what I like about the POCO F7 is the fact that the camera array and the design is very similar to the POCO F3, which is the king of POCOs, a lot of people call it.
That's super popular F3.
Yes, because that was the pinnacle of all the POCO phones, and at that time of the release, they were like the kings. They were just whooping a lot of other, even flagship buds, right?
Yeah.
So it has a similar camera bump. It's not like the square one, which I've never been a fan. I really like the baseline POCO because of the battery size and of course how it looks, and the bigger screen, something which I really, really like as well.
Very surprising there's a bigger screen.
Yeah, because usually it's never the case.
Yeah.
I don't think any other smartphones have done that, whereby the so-called base model has a bigger battery, but it's fine, usually can because of the price and whatnot.
Yeah.
But knowing the fact that they've also made a decision to give a very good size of the phone as opposed to compromising that.
Yeah.
So it's like, how iPhone has the Plus model, but the Plus model is still in a between. The Plus model is still between.
It's still non-pro.
Yeah. And it's still in between the standard, and then you have the regular, and then you have your pros, right?
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting what they are doing. Now stay tuned for an in-depth review that will be coming really soon. But let us know which one would you choose based on the price and all of the specs that we mentioned before. The reason why we want to know is that if you do not know which to choose, we plan to either do an article or even a video on a guide on which POCO that you should get if you guys are watching this as well. And of course, we'll be also firstly doing an in-depth review as soon as our Malaysian weather looks better. Because honestly, you can even take a phone with a Hasselblad camera and everything will look like Hasselblad. Yeah, at this point in time.
Nice.
So that would be for so that would be for the POCO F7 series. I'm going to put it over here. The next thing, Abang, we're going to be talking about the Z Flip. Okay, we did talk about it briefly. So I just want to run through why that I liked this particular Z Flip after 2 weeks. Now, the first thing is the fact that, of course, we have the bigger screen. So the bigger screen is the biggest form factor of this. And the good lock launcher. This is something whereby I feel is the biggest selling point. And our review is going to be based on people who has never used a fold or flip daily, whether or not they should choose. Now, you are the kind of person who always have like a normal candy bar shape. Can you tell us why would you find this new Flip 7 a little more appealing and probably the time to switch? And would you make the switch right now?
Right. I think the main reason would be it's more pocketable.
Okay.
It's lighter. It feels, it fits better in the pocket. You know, and whenever you need a bigger screen, you can just open it up. I think the convenience of that at your fingertips is great.
The introduction of Good Lock app is also very great because last time was only region specific. So right now it's obviously available in Malaysia. And one of the best things is, of course, the fact that you can literally like open any app. So you can open YouTube and it literally has this. So previously you couldn't do this without, and you still can't do it without the Good Lock app. And if you open a song, for example, like this, it actually has. And also one of the very important things is the fact the speakers are also very good. So that is something which is also worth mentioning. Then another thing is that I believe that a lot of people are not really talking about is the fact that if you fold the phone into half, it gives you like controls down here. Yeah. So you can actually like press play, you can actually scrub through. I don't want any copyright strikes after this. So I think that is one of the main factor. And also, I'm going to ask you and I'm going to get you to guess.
Yes.
Can you guess how much screen on time that I got on this device when I use it daily?
Same battery as the 6.
Well, roughly.
I think you get a full day, maybe, I don't know, 6, 7?
5.
5, okay.
The previous Flip, I only got about like 3.5.
Really?
Yeah. And this is screen on time, not actually usage overall. Obviously. So this one is like 3.5, I got it, and this was 5.
Okay.
And it was heavy usage.
So it's more battery.
Yeah, the battery
optimization,
size is also bigger. So currently
Slightly
it's
bigger.
4,300 compared to 4,000. And I think it's
300
also the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Playing games on the phone has been great. It was warm, but like what I said in the script, I said, not cook your egg hot, but more like warm Milo hot. So that's what I actually mentioned specifically on that. But for somebody who have never used a phone, so like we already asked you, but if someone were to come and see you because you're still the otai in the tech scene, and they ask you that, hey, did you check out the Z Flip 7? And do you think that I should make the change now? I've never been using a Flip.
Right.
What is your answer on that?
I think it's a good time to jump on the bandwagon if you haven't already, because I think, like I mentioned in the previous episode, foldables have come so far.
Yeah.
7 generations.
Yeah.
You know, many manufacturers in the game now. Technology is getting better.
Yeah.
The build quality, the durability has improved so much by leaps and bounds. There shouldn't be any kind of friction aside from maybe price point compared to a candy bar for you to embrace the foldable.
And I think, would you say
device.
that the idea of the screen covering the whole device compared to last time, so this is the older one, would you say that this would be one of the reasons why people should not even look at the Flip 6? Because remember, there's a Flip 7 FE.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's one reason. It's not all the reasons.
I see. Okay.
If you do, I mean, it has to fit a budget. And I think the FE fits the budget. If you would want to, if you want it to be like your first foldable device, and FE is an option for you.
Okay.
Based on the price point.
Very good.
$399, you know.
Nice. So yeah, that is our so-called extended impressions and what exactly you can expect with the review. We do have more to talk about in the in-depth review, so stay tuned for that. Now let's go into tech news.
Yay!
We shall address my hate of Honor devices in a very short moment.
This is where it becomes
before that,
intense.
since I've been talking about the reviews and stuff, could you give us the lowdown on what is the issue or the controversial issue or news going on between the Honor Magic V5 versus the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7?
Sure. I mean, before the Samsung Z Fold 7 came into being and was launched, Honor Magic V5 claimed that it was the world's thinnest foldable phone at, what was it, 8.8 millimeters or so forth. But apparently when the Z Fold 7 was launched, people found that officially the Z Fold 7 was actually thinner than the Honor version. So what happened? Somebody lie? Did somebody measure wrongly? And apparently, like Ice Universe posted a video and measured both devices with a caliper. And typically, you would measure a device from the thickest point, not the thinnest point. Same like if you would measure a MacBook Air, for instance, you go at the hinge or close to the hinge, right? So they did that, and they found that the Z Fold 7 was thinner than the Honor. So what gives? What happened there? So yeah, that's the entire gist of it. And I know it has to do with marketing and how you can always write on something to claim that it's yours, just to push sales and stuff. But I think that the thickness of this is the question here, and I think Honor is claiming that the thickness of the ivory white model was measured without the inner and outer protective films.
Okay, bro.
Okay, bro. Yeah, and also the raised part of the camera. So I don't know. To throw a spanner into works, can we like account for the camera bump as well? I don't know, in the future.
That's a good point, because the camera bumps on the Z Fold 7 is pretty large.
I know. So you can claim that it's the thinnest as a frame, but what about your camera bump, right?
Yeah.
There has to be some rules and regulations for that.
Agreed.
At the moment, I think we're measuring really the frame and the chassis, and apparently Honor got it wrong. I don't know. What do you think? Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. I'm afraid for you guys.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so here's the thing. For me, they came out with the whole entire marketing campaign. It's not the very first time they did this. They
Do you
came
think
up-
it's an engineering
they did-
mistake?
No, I think it's a brain mistake.
Because the engineering department will say, we measured it. This is 8.8. You can do whatever you want with the data. You can market it. And they say, wow, 8.8. We are literally the thinnest in the market. So let's use that as a story to tell.
I think that whoever is within the department should double check things like this. But at the same time, Honor has always known recently, not last time, like recently always trying to pull Samsung, try to troll Samsung into always doing this kind of stuff. Before we talk about what they did elsewhere, for this particular thing, they actually released an image side by side and to say that we are still the thinnest. And then when they realized that they were not the thinnest, they removed the post. So what does that show? You kantoi, right? So that is one of the things. You made a mistake.
You cannot hide from photo evidence, right?
Exactly. And knowing the fact that you knew that, oh, I made a mistake, I removed it, already shows your claim. Previously, their previous folds, yes, they won.
They were thinner, yeah.
And they were still trolling Samsung about it, and we just leave it at that. It's funny because Honor is the only one who is out there really coming up with marketing campaigns just to troll Samsung. Vivo came out of Vivo X5 Fold. They are not coming up with the marketing campaign specifically to put any other foldables down. They're like, okay, look, we are one of the lightest. Whether or not it is lighter, whether or not it is thinner, they're not creating specific campaigns. And that is what makes me very irritated about Honor in the first place. They even came out, I don't know whether you know this, they even came out with a campaign when Samsung released the S25 series and said, happy 25th anniversary Samsung. They came out with this big giant box that they put outside Pavilion KL, and they got influencers to go there and take picture. But what's funny is that it's not the 25th anniversary because they are not forgetting that the fact that the S series is not 25th anniversary because remember the skip from 10.
Yes.
So use your brains on marketing people because my point is that you're getting the fact wrong. Now let's go back why we don't review Honor devices.
Why the disdain and dislike for Honor?
First and foremost, I like Honor as a technological company. And going back to my earlier days of doing YouTube, Honor was the very first company to bring me to France for their launch. And it was the View 20, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a very good experience. The marketing people in Malaysia was great. They really took care of us. And of course, we got to test the devices. I met Linus then. So imagine just starting off YouTube, you did that. That time was fine. But that time, Honor was a sub-brand of Huawei.
Huawei, yeah.
And fast forward, ever since when Honor claimed that they came out from Huawei. So ever since that Honor said that it came out from Huawei, then they started becoming the rebel that you see today. And that's where I really couldn't take it. My first approach, I'm not going to mention names here, but my first approach is that there was one of the phones whereby it was a full campaign about taking a nail, take the phone and bang the phone. I don't know which freaking Honor phone was this.
Because Honor, I think in those, even the older days, when it first started out, it was all about toughness and durability. They use it as like a shield and use a gun to shoot. And
Yeah,
it
but
was
that
bulletproof.
I wouldn't say that
Stuff
was
like
the older
that,
days because that only happened after they came out from Huawei. Because prior to that, they were talking about cameras. They were really talking about that a little more. So I was approached as a tech reviewer to do and to review the device. So they sent me the,
So do you open
X9B or
durian
whatever.
with the-
No, I didn't. So the story is this. When they sent me the device, they told me, okay, look, we have a certain budget for this. Can you just do the drop test and do the durian test and all this kind of stuff? I said, no. I said, because I don't like doing stuff like this. I never do drop tests neither. I want to show things like this. Maybe just a drop test very quickly is fine, but I'm not going to use it to bang the nail.
Yep.
And they were like, oh, if that's the case, I'm not going to give you the phone. I was like, can I just review it as a phone? No. because this is our marketing direction. You can only talk about this particular things. So if I'm going to do that, I might as well just work back in Astro, right? Just do my normal 9 to 5 job. If I'm going to be that kind of person who's just going to listen to the brand, what they said. So
That's not a review, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There were a lot of people, again, I'm not bringing anybody down, but there were a lot of people who did exactly that. Now, I understand people need money in order for them to work and feed the children, feed the people in the team. But that's where I knew that I need to put my foot down, because there's no smartphone brand in the world who tells me that you can only cover specific things. That's it about it.
Yep, agreed.
So for me, that's when I was already disgusted about that, but I kept quiet. They came out with great devices. There was no doubt about it. But the marketing campaign specifically in Malaysia, it's totally different than what's been happening globally, right? And it's like they are going out there and finding individuals who does not review Samsung phones or does not really like care about putting another brand down, even though it doesn't make sense, as long as they get their messaging out there. So that's the only reason why I don't. Now, here's our promise. Once when we are financially stable, we will buy Honor phones and do reviews. The only reason why we don't is because we do not have the monetary capacity to buy every phones. Hence why all the devices you see over here are review units. After we're done with the units, we're going to give it back to them. So that is how it works. As a tech reviewer, you've been in the industry for the longest time. So unfortunately, we are not going to be reviewing Honor devices because of that factor, because we don't believe in their particular campaign and their style. Hopefully, one day we can be an MKBHD and buy every phone in the world, and we can just do our review and just rely on CPM. But for now,
you'll get there.
Thank you, Aban. Thank you so much. So that is the story. Now, let's look into what is the bottom line. So the bottom line of this whole entire controversy is the fact that Honor says that the world's thinnest phone is based on selective measurement in a real world use. The Z Fold 7 is just as thin or actually thinner depending on how and where you measure. So to me, they are not.
It's also typical marketing, isn't it? You
Yeah.
just find that little thing that's an advantage to you and you try and sell
So
that
if
to
you
your
think you're
customer.
right, means then why do you remove the whole entire the so-called marketing campaign which was out, which shows
Because it's a half-truth. and
again,
it
you don't
backfired.
see this coming up from anybody else. You don't see Oppo bringing down the Z Fold 6 when they release their Find N5. They talk about what is great about the device, and that's the reason why it disgusts me that Honor comes up with dedicated marketing campaigns to bring other brands down. You know,
Maybe
Corey
it's a
Taylor,
very specific Samsung thing.
So Corey Taylor from Slipknot, funny I'm using his quote. He says that a dog that barks at a tree, and the tree is just looking at a dog, he said, what's your problem? It's like, you bark lah, you got nothing to do. So that's exactly what is happening over here. So Corey Taylor in his first album said that when you bark at nothing, you become nothing, and that's exactly what's happening.
So
But
you
not
get
nothing
nothing phone 3.
I knew that was coming. So yeah, guys, that is the overall context of those two things. And the next news, or the final news of the week, is the fact that Google Pixel 10 has brand new leaks.
Yay.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
It's like another Samsung device, right? Everything's leaked out before the launch. I mean, based on the leaks, there's no big design change. It looks still the same. The island-style camera bar that's on the Pixel 9. But apparently the big change will come internally. So they are moving to a TSMC 3 nanometer for the Tensor chip. So it's not going to be made by Samsung this time. But of course, when you talk about Tensor chips, it's never about raw power. It's always about efficiency and about NPU, because they want to drive the AI stuff. It's got a bigger display, bigger battery. Nothing really great, right? 50 megapixel main camera, which is pretty much standard on all the Android devices. Also have a 13 megapixel ultra wide. To be honest, the specs sound very underwhelming by today's standards. But again, never judge a camera system just by specs alone, as you know.
What do you think?
Pixel always has very good cameras.
Where do you think that the Pixel stands now in a global market, especially now that it is already introduced in Malaysia?
Well, that's a tough market because the competition is so so intense, and phones in terms of baseline standards are so high, and there's just so much choice. And also, I think the Pixel series is always priced a little bit at a premium, so not everybody can buy a Pixel, aside from a 9A maybe. But aside from that, yeah, the competition is too high. I think you have to be a very big kind of Pixel fan to buy a Pixel device.
Okay.
I know you're a fan, I'm a fan.
I was.
But
I was, but now
So-
I'll just use it. But it's not like I'm going to go out of my way to buy
buy
it.
one, yeah.
Because you're right, there's so many options.
So
But if
many
you are the marketing boss for Google, specifically on the Pixel, what would you change from the Pixel lineup? What would you do to make it a bit more appealing for the general crowd?
Wow, that's a tough question too. I think it'll have to do with features. I think it'll have to write on the features that you are very known for, especially your photography. And I think what the advantages of Pixel is, because it's a Google device, you get great software and hardware integration. You know, the integration of Gemini, the integration of AI into the many facets of the user experience. I think that's the most important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also if they had more device exclusive AIs, like for example the call screening and stuff like that, which is unfortunately not available in Malaysia, I think that could be one of the biggest selling point.
Because
You're
that's
right.
very US specific or
And-
certain market specific
and-
features.
My very first Google Pixel device was the 2XL, and I paid full money on that because it's
But
not
so
available
good
in
though,
Malaysia.
especially the
So good.
cameras. Yeah.
So that's the thing. While Pixel's cameras were very good, a lot of people caught up and
already.
they were still here, while a lot of people became better.
I know.
So
I agree.
Wouldn't you spend some R&D to make the cameras better? But how good can a camera be? That is also another question.
Good is very subjective too, right?
Yep,
What's
correct.
good?
Yeah. So, the software perspective of things, nothing OS is very good. So, Pixel is like, oh, you can get a Pixel, but nothing OS is just nicer with the essential space and
It's
all.
different. Yeah, it's different.
And Samsung's One UI, they came a long way from Samsung experience. Right
I
now,
know.
the One UI is so amazing.
Remember TouchWiz?
Oh my God, TouchWiz.
That was before the Samsung experience. Yeah.
Yes, correct. Oh, that's before. Yeah, I remember. So the thing is that the reason why I'm asking you this question is not to put you on the spot, but I'm trying to sell Pixel to people, right? If you want to talk about Gemini, Samsung devices has Gemini.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about cameras, there's a lot of even more affordable or cheaper devices which has great cameras as well. So what is the selling point for a Google Pixel, especially here in Malaysia?
It's a very personal choice, I feel. And the flavor of Android that you pick is very personal. Some people like the clean Android, like Pixel. Some don't. Some prefer the enhanced version of Android, like in One UI, in Nothing OS. Nothing OS really looks very different, right? From your typical Android UI. So it's a really matter of choice. I like the cleanness of it. I like the non-bloatware that's within the Pixel, as well as it's just quicker, efficient in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yes, it lacks certain features like what has been added on in One UI, for instance, or Nothing OS, but some people appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll put this question to you guys. Let us know what you think would be the most appealing thing. And if you are Google, what would you do to make this phone a bit more appealing, to sell it here in
I think-
Malaysia or even
yeah.
across the world as
I
well?
think another point is the advantages of being Google is that you can do things like pixel drops on a monthly basis and just enhance the phone experience as you go along.
And I guess, okay, now that you mentioned Pixel Drops is of course software updates because they get the software updates faster. But
Faster
besides
and
that,
quicker, yeah.
And I think they've been pretty stable also in terms of their software. You don't hear issues like
Exactly.
how sometimes you might have some issues with others. So yeah, I think I like the Google Pixel, but I wouldn't call it I'm a fan anymore because of course, as a tech reviewer, we get to review a lot of different kind of stuff. But there's also that visual impression also. So like yesterday, I was hosting for a Wiz event. And
The Wiz event.
Yeah, the Wiz, the Philips.
Touch Wiz.
No, not Touch. Well, that's smart. But and what's interesting is that the big bosses, they were actually using a Pixel, and it gave me that immediate impression, like, oh, he's using a Pixel. Even though as a tech reviewer, there's that. Oh, that's quite interesting. Because you're not using a Samsung, you're not using. But what's wrong using a Samsung? Yeah. What's wrong using a nothing?
You know what it equates to? It equates to like in the PC verse, right? So when you're using a Microsoft Surface device, it's like I'm a bit more atas.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Though.
I'm a bit more premium in terms of that,
Correct.
Yeah, of course, Apple is in a different landscape.
Yeah, I mean that is a whole separate story altogether. But yeah, from an Android perspective, I think that is the idea and the look as well.
And it's positioned that way, right? It's the premium, is the more.
But it's good that it's available
exclusive
here in Malaysia. And the smart home ecosystem for Google Home has always been consistent, especially here in the studio as well. Okay, for your segment, who asked for this? Cyberpunk 2077 on a Mac. What's up?
I know, it's incredible. I've seen it running last week when you guys were playing around with it. It's pretty amazing. But it was a question which is a question tale as old as time. Is can you game on a Mac? And why would you game on a Mac? I know everybody else here, even us, we game on a PC or a console.
I don't even game, but yeah.
But I mean, the short answer is yes. Mac gamers can say yes, and I think Mac gamers would probably ask for this.
Yeah. Do you ask?
And
for this?
if it was just for bragging rights, I say, yeah, I can game on a Mac. I don't even need a GPU. I've got a Apple Silicon integrated graphics, and it runs fine.
Yep.
Of course, for casual gaming, it's perfect. And if you look at the Apple ecosystem, there are more than 1 billion devices.
Yep.
And things like Apple Arcade helps that casual gaming kind of environment. But always when you talk about gaming, it's always about the AAA titles that are on the PC and on consoles that the Mac lacks. And why? Because it's just a smaller kind of market, right? There's 10% of, let's say, the OS, maybe a little bit more of the OS markets. But what it demonstrates is that Cyberpunk 2077 can run on a Mac, and that the M chips are powerful enough to run, 8 AAA games.
Correct.
Without GPUs.
Yeah. So just to give you all context, that we have run this on the M3 Ultra, and
which is really a workhorse, and it's really powerful, right?
And also at the same time, both the developers and also Apple says that to get the best experience is on default settings. But of course, as a tech reviewer, the default settings is the ray tracing is by default and all.
On.
Yeah. So, but being a tech reviewer, we decided to go a bit harder. So we tried to do ray tracing overdrive.
Okay.
Not very meant for that, obviously, because it's still got about 30 to 40 frames, which is okay. Though.
Which is quite impressive when you come and think of it.
Yeah, because
no GPU.
But the resolution reduced to 1440p.
Okay.
Which is still okay.
Yeah.
So it was running between 40 to 45 frames or so, which was fine. But the sweet spot would be to run the ray tracing instead of default, do at medium, and then you play it at 1440.
Do you get 60 frames?
Yeah, you get kind of close there. Or
honestly,
ray tracing ultra, but the graphics go down to 1080p. So you can play around with that. But again, who asked for this? Probably we didn't ask for this, but it's a place whereby it is there, right? And for people who's just specifically using an M3 or a Mac, they can finally use this as well. And Adam has actually raised up his hand because he asked for this. So he wants to.
The good thing about this Cyberpunk thing, it also runs on hardware as old as like the M1.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive.
Yeah.
Meaning the base standard kind of M1 chips can also run Cyberpunk.
We are doing an in-depth review of the M3 Ultra after using it for 1 month. We are going to be doing video editing tests using 17K resolution footages and stuff like that. Yeah, I know it's crazy.
17K.
But we are also going to be talking about the game. So other than Cyberpunk, we also tried out Baldur's Gate 3. Previously on the M2 Ultra, it was a bit shaky, but right now on the M3 Ultra is very good. So yeah, we are not going to spoil anything about that, but I think it is a good day to be a Mac user, and is a good day for people to game on a Mac per se.
But you know what would be nice, and what I would ask for is that Apple Silicon supported eGPUs,
Oh yeah.
because that's something that completely.
They did support their very own GPU, the one where you put it on their Mac Pros, but I think then they kind of stopped it as well.
Yeah,
because if they can do it, means that you can
M.
even use like those external black magic GPUs and
That
create even
would
higher
help a
ones.
lot. But unfortunately, Apple Silicon doesn't support eGPUs at this point, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen because I think Apple is committed to really push the boundaries of what Apple Silicon can do as an integrated SOC. So
I agree.
it's sad for certain audience, especially those who want to upgrade GPUs and stuff.
Personally, for me, I think this is a struggle also from Lihud and I, is the fact that there are certain plugins from FX Factory which still runs very slow. And yeah, some could complain that maybe FX Factories, their source coding and all, that's what makes it heavy, very heavy. But my point is that we should be, if we're going to spend so much money on a device like this, it should be running very smoothly. So we hope that when we do the test that everything runs smoothly. So stay tuned for our in-depth review of that. The next one would be the community segment. We did ask, this is interesting because previously we asked that on the community tab about how if you had choices of two phones, like the main camera and the other camera, which one would you go for? Either. So this one is a slightly different questions because if it's just one camera, which
As in one camera,
just one camera, would you go
iPhone SE?
Yeah.
One camera.
So the result says there's 195 votes. The result says that the wide camera is 31%, telephoto camera 61%, and my favorite camera, the macro camera, is
Imagine
just 9%.
This is so amusing.
Yes.
Imagine you had only one camera and it was just a macro camera. What are you going to do with it?
You know what you're going to do? You're not going to use it. I think, bro, you want to take picture? Can. Put it.
How are you going to take food shots, man?
Okay. Now, we do have some of the comments. Okay, so somebody, Bilal Mustafa says that I have the Huawei P60 Pro. It has the industry-leading telephoto lens, double as a macro lens, and delivers. This fellow sounds like he
sounds like a tech reviewer.
Yeah, he sounds like a tech reviewer, and he sounds like a Huawei ambassador. He's right because even the P60 Pro, even though it's 60 Pro, which is a Pura 60 Pro, which is two generations behind, it has a very good telephoto lens which actually doubles up as a macro lens. So I think what Bilal Mustafa is saying that if he had this particular telephoto camera, so he would go with that. Exploding Heavens.
But again, you can't take food shots with it without standing on the chair.
That's true.
Because if it's a 90 mm and 120 mm,
yeah, the food is on the table, you stand. Okay, bro, I'm going to take a picture. Okay, Exploding Heaven says that in most cases, wide angle can capture everything.
He's
At
right.
most, you can
I
get
agree with him.
close. With narrow telephoto, you won't get shots something wide.
Yeah.
Something, especially moving objects. Oh, that's nice. Remember how cameras first started around 23 to 27 mm? It's got a super good point. I guess what Syed meant by wide angle camera is not ultra wide.
Not ultra wide.
Main camera.
Yeah, so it's the main camera.
So it's funny how people still prefer a telephoto camera more than a wide camera. I would prefer a main lens because if you have a very high resolution main camera sensor, like just say you have a 50 megapixel, it can double up as a digital telephoto. That's what exactly iPhone is doing with S16e.
Exactly.
So it's interesting how people still want a telephoto camera. Ishin Sidar says telephoto camera, and then Amir Fidos says, even though most tech reviewer will prefer the ultra wide camera. So here's the thing. The question is not as clear, so I would give him the benefit of the doubt because he thinks that we meant was ultra wide. So a lot of people do not know that wide camera is the main camera. So that is our mistake.
Because I think the main point here is the field of view, right? So the field of view needs to be wide enough.
So you say that in real life usage of normal people, telephoto camera will be so much better to use, but macro camera should have buried that long time ago. I totally agree with you.
We agree.
Yeah.
We don't need a dedicated macro camera.
And it all started when iPhone started doing very good macro shots.
Yeah, but that was via either the main camera or the telephoto camera. So
if you had a choice between using the idea of, because like iPhone does it from the ultra wide camera and then becomes a macro camera, and then now these days phones are going from telephoto using to the macro camera. Like the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, the freaking macro camera is amazing.
I think telephoto adds convenience. You don't have to go so close to an object.
Yeah.
To take a macro. But yeah, it really depends on the hardware and the lens.
So would you agree with this particular poll?
No.
I also don't agree to it.
No. As a single camera, is like a one camera? But let's give the
audience the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they think that the question, so science again come up with better questions. Maybe that's the reason why, because probably they think that, wide camera is the ultra wide camera, not the main camera. Or probably if we put the focal length over there, then probably, because our audiences are very smart. So I think they would have picked it up in case they put it there as well. So yeah, very interesting feedback anyway, but thank you guys so much. Like I said, when it comes to this community segment, this is the best ways that we can actually have these conversations together with you all to find out what you guys think. So we'll be posting the community segment question every Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. Okay, what's exciting next week? We have the Vivo X Fold 5 launch event. Again, the two biggest form factor or the two biggest selling point is, one is software, the other one is hardware. So if you haven't seen the reel, there's a quick button. So it's something like your shortcut button that you have on OnePlus devices and all. So it's the very first foldable to have such thing. Right. It's funny how no foldables has done it. So Vivo has done it. So if they want to talk about that and, show the world I was the first, makes sense, right? They're not comparing with anybody directly. They're saying that we are the first. There's also another interesting thing about the Fold 5 from Vivo is the fact that they has this thing called Origin Workbench. It doesn't sound like the feature, but it's exactly like,
they need better marketing.
You know how Apple has that Stage Manager thing where you have all the apps on the left-hand side?
Right.
So, is it called Stage Manager? I forgot what is it called.
Stage Manager, yeah.
Stage Manager, right? Yeah, not Center Stage. Center Stage, the other one. So, Stage Manager where you have the apps run on the side there. So, you can run up to 5 apps. So, instead of your typical split screen like Samsung or any other foldable does, you have that. So that is the two main points. Their cameras are still using Zeiss. But yeah, stay tuned for the launch event and hopefully we can get our hands on that and then of course do an in-depth review for that. If you're watching this, you already would have seen, or if you haven't seen, we have a video release of Huawei using Google on that. Because of course, the video, whenever you release any Huawei devices, a lot of people talk about how you cannot use Google. Yeah. Fortunately, in Malaysia, you have Gbox, which is a very easy app. You can download it on the app gallery. So we kind of go through how and why and whether or not it is safe. And spoiler alert, it is very safe. And I know I've been saying this every single week, but stay tuned, in-depth review coming soon for the Huawei Pura 80 Ultra. Also releasing this Sunday, which is tomorrow, if you're watching this on Saturday, is the Nothing Phone 3 versus the S25.
Yes, looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Because it's
one of the toughest videos.
I think it's a very tough
Leo has had to go
as
through a lot of rubbish because Final Cut Pro decided to be his best friend and to crash. Final Cut Pro does not crash often, but the poor guy had to go through this rubbish. Anyway, then of course we have the in-depth review of the Z Flip 7. The Huawei Pura 80 Ultra review is also coming next week, and of course we'll
many videos coming next week.
Do the Fold as well. Yeah. So yes, stay tuned for that. And with that, we'd like to say thank you guys so much for watching this episode number 24. Kobe Bryant, like what Adam Arif says. God bless his soul. Mamba mentality. Love the dude. Even though I don't watch basketball. My name is Adam Lobo.
And I'm Vernon. See you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.